G'day guys, and we've just had some hot, fresh World Eaters rumors, leaks, whatever you want to call them, drop in our lap. So what I want to do today is go through what the new 8-bound are able to do, because these rumors, if true, make the 8-bound into absolute monsters in Melee. So let's get stuck straight into the rumors.
Look for the Blood God.
Alrighty, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read through the rumors exactly as written, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think the implications are if these happen to be true. Alright, so we've got just some 8-bound stuff from the 8-bounds and Berserkers. The 8-bounds are having 4 attacks for a non-sergeant and 5 attacks on the sergeant. Berserkers are having 5 attacks for the non-sergeant and 6 attacks on their profile. Eviscerator on the Berserkers is strength plus 3 AP 4 2 damage. The weapons of the 8-bounds are also called Eviscerators, but a strength user, AP 3 2 damage, with 1 extra attack on each. Yes, the regular 8-bounds are equipped with 2 Eviscerators. Their sergeant would be able to equip another kind of Eviscerator, which will allow for a sweep profile for 2 attacks with each hit roll, 2 hit rolls for each attack. The Exalted guys are equipped with 1 Eviscerator and 1 Special Chain Fist, with the profile of strength plus 3 AP 4 2 damage. Each model use either weapon to fight. The sergeant will be able to equip the same weapon as regular 8-bound sergeant, or equip with a pair of chain fists. If they get the pair of chain fists, they become strength plus 3 damage AP 4 damage 3. So with the stratagem, they're going to be able to come damage 4 per hit. Alright, so that's the rumors that we're looking at. Now, if you look at this, they said that the 8-bound were, let me just double check it, 8-bound were 4 attacks for a non-sergeant, right? But they have 2 Eviscerators, so that's 4, 5, 6 attacks per guy, plus being a World Eater is going to get them up to 7 attacks, and then we're supposedly able to use the Red Butcher's stratagem on them, which is rumored to be plus 1 attack and plus 1 damage. So that means they're going to get up to 8 attacks that are going to be strength probably 6, we think, based on the rumors so far. AP 4, fucking 3 damage. That's an insane amount of damage. These guys are going to be absolute blenders. Yes, it's going to cost some CP to get them there. Yes, they're probably going to be quite slow, but when they hit, they're going to be shredding through all kinds of things. A lot of people are comparing these guys to the Possessed, the current rules, the Possessed in the Chaos Space Marine Codex. And I think that's a little bit of an unfair comparison, but there are a few things that this unit is going to be able to do that the Possessed really, really struggle into. One of them is the AP. These guys are going in at AP 4, Possessed are only AP 2. And that extra AP is a massive damage multiplier, particularly in the Armor of Contempt meta. AP 2 is just not enough. It means your Terminators are still getting 3-up saves. They just shrug off any damage that the Possessed try to do. Whereas these 8-bound, they're going to go in and they're just going to fucking shred through Terminators. And then that damage 2 on the Possessed, going up to damage 3 on these guys with the stratagem support, is also massive. It means every strike is killing a Terminator or a Biker. It means they can go into things like a Dreadnought that's -1 damage, or your Tyranid monsters or anything like that, and their damage doesn't get halved because of that -1 damage. It also means that if they go into 2 wound models that have like a feel no pain style save where they can shrug off wounds, it's not that big of a deal. So these 8-bound are going to be able to put out a massive amount of pain. Not to mention the fact that some of them are going to have chain fists, some of them are going to be the sergeant who's going to get another attack, so he's going to go in with 9 attacks. And if it's true that they can make a sweep profile, you're going to be able to do like just ridiculous numbers of attacks with these guys. So the jury's still out on how fast they are and whether or not they're going to be able to ride transports and whether or not they're even going to be able to make it into the melee that they need to be made into. I'm hoping that the Land Raider will have some kind of rule where it's like, oh, it can take up to 10 models, but each 8-bound model takes up 3 slots or 2 slots or something like that to allow these guys to get into that melee. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. All we know for now is that if they do make melee, they're going to straight fuck shit up. Now let's go through some of the rumors from the other day, because unfortunately I work full-time, so I don't have a chance to get on top of every rumor as it's released. So let's have a look at the rumors from the previous day. So this one's a big one. We've got There's two different types of armies. So the Codex is going to be separated into a World Eaters and a Disciples one. The stratagems for the World Eaters are Skulls for the Skull Throne, 1 to 2 CP. Use it after one of your characters destroys an enemy warlord. You spend 1 CP, you get to choose one of the following. If you spend 2 CP, you get them both. One of them is that you get 2 Blood Tithe, and the other is that the character who destroyed the enemy warlord got +1 to advance for the rest of the game. Now this is pretty average. There's always these stratagems that pop up, but they trigger only after you kill the enemy warlord, and there's a decent chance that your character's not going to get anywhere near their warlord. People are generally pretty protective of their warlord, so this stratagem's meh. Alright, next we have Banner of Blood. 1 CP, let an Icon Berserkers charge at 3d6 and drop the lowest. So we've heard of this one before. It sounds amazing, it sounds like a ton of fun, and it also means that your Berserkers, if they're disembarking 9 inches out of a Rhino and then going for a charge, getting 3d6 and picking the highest is really good. Or if you put them in like Strategic Reserves or a Dreadclaw Transport or something like that, where they're going to be arriving 9 inches away from your opponent, 3d6 picking the highest 2 or dropping the lowest is actually a pretty reliable charge. Next we have Stoke the Nails. So 1 CP, use when you choose a core character to fight, core all character to fight. Each wound roll of a 6 is 1 extra mortal wound, at most 6 for this stratagem. So I see this being actually particularly useful on small units. So it sounds like it would lend into big units because you get more attacks and therefore the ability to generate more mortals. But being that it's capped at 6, you're probably going to overkill it if you go on a big unit. So sending in a small unit of 5 Berserkers going in with, they're probably going to get like 5 or 6 attacks each. You know, you're probably going to hit that 6 mortal wound breakpoint anyway. But it just pushes the damage of that small unit up significantly, whereas the bigger units are probably going to kill anything they touch anyway. So I see on the horizons, I'm sort of seeing a whole bunch of MSU Berserkers in Rhinos. I'm thinking that's going to be the way to play World Eaters. Next we have Wild Fury, 1 to 2 CP, fight on death. A core unit can do this. If it's troop, despite its size, 1 CP, otherwise it's 2 CP if it's not a troop. So this is what I've been asking for the whole time. One of the things that I predicted falsely was that World Eater's Legion trait was going to be replaced with Fight on Death. Turns out that was for Creations of Bile. But being able to do it for a command point is almost as good, because realistically, you know, you're only going to be probably doing it with 1 unit per phase anyway. And if you play it well, this will allow you to send in 2 units, fight with that one, and put Fight on Death on this one. And then you're going to kill whatever that is, and if your opponent interrupts, they're going to kill you, but you're going to kill them anyway. So there's a decent chance your opponent's just not going to bother interrupting because they're going to lose that unit anyway. So as a result, you've got some insulation against this Mark of Slaanesh style interruption mechanic. Or if they go, oh cool, you're going to charge 2 units in, they're going to make this one fight last. Well, guess what? That one's going to fight on death. So this is a huge toolkit piece, and this is going to fix one of the main problems that I have had playing World Eaters previously, and that is that if your opponent can make you fight last, or if they can interrupt, you're fucked. Alright, next we have Kill, Maim, Burn. 1 CP for a World Eaters unit to heroically intervene for 6 inches as if they are a character. Now this is fucking insanely good. So depending on the stipulations, currently it just says World Eater unit, but it depends, it might be core locked, it might be infantry locked, who knows. But being able to heroically intervene 6 inches is a massive, massive pain in the ass, because you can have units on objectives. Now your opponent can't touch, they can't even come anywhere near that objective without getting in melee with you. And sometimes they don't want to shoot you off the objective, they want to charge you to get on the objective themselves. Or they want to charge a nearby unit and try to string onto the objective. They're not going to be able to do that if you can heroically intervene into them. Sometimes they want to just get a really fast unit and move onto the objective and touch it, just to contest it or deny it. But you can just be like, sorry, heroically intervene. Massively powerful. It also is going to allow you to heroically intervene potentially with things like Mauler Fiends, which actually makes them somewhat relevant again. One of their problems is that they've been really slow, they struggle to make it in combat, but if you can launch a Mauler Fiend up, move and advance it, get it on an objective, and then heroically intervene into things, that's insane. Alright, we've got Smoke Launchers and Scorn of Sorcery, we know what they are. Now the Red Butcher's stratagem. So it's 2 CP for a unit of Terminators or 8-bound, and they get +1 to their damage until the fight is resolved when you choose to fight. So it's looking like this is no longer a pre-game stratagem that you spend on your units to upgrade it, which I actually kind of miss. I liked that. I liked being able to say, this is my unit of red butchers. You know, it made them feel special. It made them feel cool. Whereas now it's like a reactive thing. That being said, being a reactive thing is pretty good because it means you can take multiple units of, say, Eightbound, send them in and be like, okay, this one's making a charge this turn, so they're my red butchers, and the next turn, they're going to make a charge, they become my red butchers. And it also means that in some matchups, you won't need to spend it at all. And if you don't need to spend it at all, well, then you're glad you didn't have to spend it at the start of the game because you can, you know, spend it where you need to. So if you're going into like Guard or something like that, or say you're playing Gene Stealer Cult and they don't have a single model with more than one wound, then this is a waste of time. You wouldn't spend it. So it's really cool that it's situational. It does, I think, make it a little bit more competitively viable as a stratagem, but I do miss it in sense of, you know, creating that really unique, cool unit. All right, and then we have the stratagems for the Army of Renowned, which is Angron's Berserkers. So we've got, I think it's called Disciples of Angron. So the ones we already know, we got 1 CP for a World Eater unit to add 1 to the wound roll when fighting below half strength. All right, now it's not clear on here if it means whether the Berserker unit is below half strength or their target is below half strength. Either way, I don't like these sorts of stratagems because it's hard to get something below half strength without just killing it. And it's also hard to be reduced to below half strength without killing it. In my experience with 9th edition 40k, everything that gets touched pretty much dies. You know, with a few notable exceptions like Chaos Space Marine Terminators, you know, real chunky units. But by and large, anything that gets touched gets shredded. So getting +1 to wound is not really that good. And further to that, if it is an enemy unit below half strength, chances are if it's below half strength and you're touching it, well then it's definitely fucking gonna die. You don't need to get +1 to wound against it. You need to get +1 to wound against full, heavy, hard to kill targets, not the weaker ones. So I'm hoping that it's perhaps when you're below half strength, you get +1 to wound against your targets. And this could also be an interesting case for Khorne the Betrayer, because if you take, you know, a unit of, you know, 5 Berserkers or something like that, and in their first turn he kills one, and then the next turn he kills one, you know, you could maybe use him to get yourself intentionally below half strength in order to send in and get that +1 to wound. I don't know, I'm just thinking here, but, you know, could be interesting. Next we have 1 CP when nominating your World Eater boys to go charging and who they're gonna charge. Target cannot Overwatch or set to defense, and they get -1 to hit until the following fight phase. I would have really liked this to be your opponent has to fight last, because like I said before, it helps with that sort of sequencing mechanic that 9th edition is all about. But being able to prevent Overwatch is pretty good, especially in a meta full of fucking Tzeentch Flamers that just eviscerate anything that tries to charge them, so, you know, that would be cool. And also preventing your opponent from being able to set to defend means that they can't get that +1 to hit in melee. You know, there's some cool stuff there. I don't know whether it's something that you'll be using too often, but it is cool. The next we have 1 CP when you go to advance with your World Eaters unit. Don't make a roll, make it a 6. Okay, so it's a watered down version of Honor the Prince. Instead of being able to do it on an advance and charge, you can just do it on advances. It'll depend on whether or not World Eaters have access to advance and charge. If they do, then this will become very, very powerful stratagem. If they don't, then it becomes somewhat less relevant, because it's very rare that you're going to want to advance. You need to advance 6, and you're not planning to charge after. Maybe if there's an objective really far away that you're trying to get onto with your Berserkers or something like that. But yeah, it'll all depend on whether there's an ability to advance and charge. 1 CP for a World Eater to ignore any and all charge modifications. Yep, this is fantastic. This is something that we desperately need, because there's nothing more heartbreaking than when you're a full combat army and then you go up against somebody who can make you -2 to charge. Even if it's through forests or dense cover, whether it be Tau with their photon grenades, Custodes with Tanglefoot, there's lots of stuff out there. Death Guard have access to it as well. People who are able to reactively make you negative to charge can really, really mess up your game plan in a really feels bad kind of way. So being able to just go, cool, you have a 6 strat, if you use it, I'm just going to use this. So that's good. And 1 CP for a World Eater unit to destroy an enemy. So 1 CP, when a World Eater unit destroys an enemy unit, they get an aura of -2 leadership and +1 to casualty tests. I assume they mean attrition tests for enemy units within 6 inches until the end of the turn. So this is actually kind of interesting. You could do some serious damage with this. If there's multiple units clumped up, what you could do is you could go, cool, I'm going to put 2 Berserkers into that one, 2 Berserkers into that one, 2 Berserkers into that one, 2 Berserkers into this weak character, for example. Kill the character, cool, spending the strat, and now these 2 Berserkers kill, half of that squad, half of that squad, half of that squad. All of those squads are now at -2 leadership, so they probably fail their thing, and then their combat attrition test is +1. And if they're below half strength, they're going to be another +1. So that means instead of 1s killing them, it's not 2s either, it's going to be 3+, and the models flee. So this could be a really good way of doing massive spill damage with, increasing the amount of models you kill with those units. So that's a really interesting one as well. And then last but not least, we have the Hellbrutes getting +1 strength and attack, Terminators getting +1 strength and attack, Helldrake, Forge Fiend, and Mauler Fiend all remaining unchanged. So yeah, these are things that you sort of expected. I'm not 100% clear on whether or not that +1 strength and attack is from the Legion trait, because that's one of the things that we've heard is that the Legion trait is being replaced with +1 strength and attack on the charge. So I'm not sure if they're talking about that specifically. The fact that they're saying Mauler Fiends and that are unchanged makes me think that this might be in addition. And if those Hellbrutes with 2 fists get +1 strength and attack, and then a further +1 strength and attack from the Legion trait, they're going to be absolute fucking blenders. And I've got a tray behind me, a shelf with 8 Hellbrutes on it. So hopefully they become good again. I know you'll only be able to take 3, but maybe an Apocalypse game with 8 Hellbrutes running forward could be fun. So yeah, that's the rumors. You should now be up to date if you've been following my rumors. I know there's a lot of other channels doing this as well, but I just thought I'd chime in with my 2 cents on the most latest stuff from this morning, as well as the stuff that I missed yesterday. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
Look for the Blood God.
The Warhammer community suffers from some of the most prohibitively expensive essentials in the world, especially Australian content creators. Every single day, Dean wants to create content, but he can't. Suffering from old, worn-out brushes, expensive model kits, and costly software and equipment he can't endure much longer. Just look at this dirty paint water. Would you drink this? Would you let your child? Even a small monthly donation can help provide Dean with clean paint water, basic tools for survival, and access to life-saving information and education. So please, follow the links in the description below and find out how you can sponsor a mad cunt like Dean today and end the suffering. Suffering that is cruel, unsustainable, and your fault.
Do your objective markers ever get lost behind terrain or other models and become difficult to see? Do they ever get bumped and accidentally moved during a game? And do they ever spark arguments about distances? Well, not anymore. Introducing the blog for the Blood God, not even remotely patented neoprene objective markers. Made from the same material as astronaut suits, or maybe military equipment, or probably neither of those things, this 2mm thick neoprene synthetic rubber is tear resistant, water resistant, and is designed to last. But that's not all. The blog for the Blood God, not even remotely patented neoprene objective markers come in a variety of different designs and styles to suit any faction represented in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. These objective markers are a perfect gift for yourself or a friend, and are a perfect way to flex and show your opponent that not only are you a smarter, cooler, and better 40k player than them, but you also have more disposable income than they do. For the low price of $25, you'll get not 1, not 2, but 6 neoprene objective markers, perfectly designed for 9th edition Warhammer 40k. But wait, there's more. For a limited time only, people who sign up on Patreon to support Blog for the Blood God as a Skull Champion tier $5 per month member will gain access to a custom design service where I will design a unique logo to support their gaming club, like the one I did to the left here for the Potato Farmers local gaming club here in Melbourne. Follow the links in the description of this video to pick up your set today.